glad that you came to the acceptance student today. We're looking forward to having you here sometime in the future. So we're looking around and St. Pete says, you know what? This is your day. This is heaven. Just have a blast. Do whatever you want to do. You guys have earned it. You've obviously done something right, or you fooled us into thinking you've done something right. So he says there's one rule, though. He says, don't step on the ducks. Yeah, that's what I said, what? So I look at my buddies and I'm like, what are you talking about? That's when we notice there's ducks literally everywhere in heaven, apparently. They're doing what ducks do, paddling furiously under the water, looking graceful, excreting nitrogen. So my buddy Brent, who is one of those guys that if you tell him not to do something, he'll immediately go and do that thing simply because he was told not to do it. So sure enough, he steps right on the duck. It barely gets the quack out. It was like quack. And he looks at me. So all of a sudden, the sky opens up, and one of the most horrendous-looking people I've ever seen comes swooping down with shackles in her hand. I'm like, this can't be good. So the shackles get placed on my friend Brent. They get swept away. St. Pete looks at me and says, I told you not to step on the ducks. So my other friend is so in shock that he takes a step back. Quack. Here comes another horrendous-looking person. Chains in hand, shackled to her. I look at St. Pete, he says, yeah, it's forever. So I'm just standing stock still now. I don't want to see a duck. Just standing stock still. They're quacking all around. All of a sudden, the sky opens up. I'm like, oh my gosh. The most beautiful woman I've ever seen, and I can say that because my wife is on here tonight. She comes flying down, shackles in hand. And she throws the chains on me, and I say, I have no idea what I did to deserve this. She says, I don't know either. I just stepped on a duck. Eternity's not that long. So again, you've heard advice over the years, and so I looked up a quote from a gentleman named Baccalaureate. He's a movie producer, and he had this to say about advice. He said, be careful whose advice you buy. Again, I'm going to give you some in a couple minutes here. But be patient with those who do supply it. Advice is a form of nostalgia. Dispensing it is a way of fishing the past from disposal, wiping it off, painting over the ugly parts, and then recycling it for maybe more than it's worth. So I started to think about some advice that was given to me that never made any sense. And I'm going to start with this one. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Anthony, you consider yourself to be a chef. Have you ever made a cake?
That I have.
How hard is it? Honestly, I tried to make a cake for Valentine's Day last year. Terrible. Just terrible. I got so focused on the icing, I forgot about the baking part. If I'm going to make a cake, you better believe I'm going to eat the cake. Why would you go through the effort to make this cake and not eat it? Now, if you were to tell me, Dan, if you save up a ton of money and you spend it on something, you don't have that money to spend, that makes sense. Just keep the food metaphor out of it, because I'm going to eat the cake. The second one, hit the ground running. Really? Chances are, if you're hitting the ground, you probably were just running. And now you've suddenly stopped, and you're either tumbling or you're lying motionless. So why don't you just tell me to work as hard as I can from the very beginning and not to wait till, I don't know, the bus ride at Gunstock to write the speech for Baccalaureate? Just put on your thinking cap. That's not helpful at all. Put on my thinking cap? Mr. Parent, if it was that easy, can we rewrite the rules and wear hats in the classroom, please? Come on. When it rains, it pours. Especially in New Hampshire. Come on. That's all it does here, apparently. just call them showers. And there's only a 30% chance it's going to happen. Keep your nose to the grindstone. Always sounded very painful to me. And why would I be using a grindstone? The only thing I ever grounded was out. Come on, baseball players. Just tell me to stay focused on what I'm doing, and the job will get done. Don't bring grindstones into it. One of my favorites, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. I don't think so. How about we just leave the birds alone? Work as efficiently as you can, and maybe you'll get 2 things accomplished. But don't go throwing rocks at birds. And the last one, balls to the wall? I really have absolutely no idea what that means. I spent a couple rides in a lift thinking about it. As I watched Mr. Milne manipulate himself, crouching tiger, hidden dragon style over obstacles yesterday, I thought about it. But what rubber spears have to do with getting yourself motivated just does not make sense to me. So here I come to that 3 minutes in time where I'm going to dispense some advice that actually did make sense to me, and it did help me. The first one was define your own success. I actually looked success up in the dictionary today, because I never thought to look it up before, even though I tell my students to look things up all the time. And it said the accumulation of wealth, of honors, and or the like. The like? Webster, work on that. If your definition of success is going to the Naval Academy or a military academy, my hat's off to you. We need more people like that. That is one of the most noble things I can think of. Ethan, Hans, if you're out there, I salute you guys. That is awesome. If your definition of success is to take a gap year, a year off, and go backpacking across Europe, going down maybe to South America to build homes, my hat's off to you too. Do it, have fun doing it, enjoy it. We need people like that as well. What you guys will find as you get older, okay, when we talk about success, the race is really long, and at the end of the day, it's really only with yourself. Find something that you like to do, find something that makes you happy, and do it to the best of your ability, and you'll find success. The second thing that really made sense to me when I was growing up was paint blue lines. Now you may be thinking, that's even dumber than hitting the ground running. So give me a second to explain. So I went to a camp when I was younger, I was 12 or 13 years old at Penn State University, and the football coach there had a blue line painted to the entrance of his practice fields. And he gathered us all together, and he said, when you guys cross over that blue line, and I tell my 20, 21-year-old young men the same thing, I want you focused only on the task at hand, which is football. So for 2.5 hours, when you cross that blue line, I want you thinking about football. Now when you cross back over that blue line, I want you to paint blue lines in your life. I'm scratching my head, I'm going to go spray paint things. I think this is where it's going. So he said, if you're having dinner with your parents, paint blue lines around the dinner table. Leave your smartphone, leave your iPad, leave it on the kitchen table. Talk to your parents. It's only 20 minutes long. All right? All the tweets in the world can occur. It's only 20 minutes. Focus on your parents. If you're with your girlfriend, if you're with your boyfriend, focus on them. Paint blue lines around them. Anthony, don't get the spray paint up. They're thinking that don't start tagging us. But in reality, you guys are going to have a lot of distractions. You've had more distractions than I had when I was your age. I never had a smartphone. I never took a selfie. What do you think that means? So paint blue lines around your life. If you're taking a physics exam, where's Goo? Are you here today? I'm here. Goo man, taking the Spanish entrance exam at UCLA. When you go into that exam, that's the only thing you should be thinking about. You should be thinking about I have no idea what else you were thinking about, but just think about that exam. Mrs. Rich and Ms. Shank said it perfectly. Live in the moment. All right? That's what painting blue lines is. Third little piece of advice I have for you. It's a poem I stole. My dad gave it to me when I was like 16 years old, when I didn't listen to anybody. And it's titled The Man in the Glass. Baseball players, I know you've heard me say this before, bear with me for 25 seconds. When you reach your goal in the game of life and have made the big presentation that day, just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what the man has to say. For it isn't your friends, your parents, or your co-workers whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in life is the one looking at you from the glass. For you may fool all of your friends and family down the avenue of life and get pats on the back as you pass, but your only reward will be remorse and regret if you've cheated the man in the glass. So class of 21-3, when you define what success is, go after it. Don't chase your dreams. It's another thing I've never understood. Dreams don't run away. People just stop moving towards them. So never stop moving towards your dream, because it's there. You just need to go and get it. The fourth thing that I think you should do is wear sunscreen. The long-term benefits of sunscreen have been proven by science. Whereas the rest of my advice that I've dispensed here has no basis more reliable than my own personal experience. But I think you should trust me on those ducks. So class of 21-3, that's all I have for you. I've been teaching for 11 years now. It's crazy to think about. And I can say with all honesty and a clear conscience, you guys are by far one of my favorite classes I've ever taught. Thank you for being who you are.